I've had a few folks recently ask me to give a brief explanation of what Dungeons & Dragons is. GameMasters here, and Dungeons & Dragons is a tabletop role-playing game created in the 1970s by Gary Gygax, which actually started out as a miniatures game and went by the name of Chainmail. It has obviously evolved over the years, but the premise has always remained the same. It is a game where you assume the role of a fantasy-styled race, such as an elf, a dwarf, or even a half-human, a half-dragon. You then choose a class such as a wizard or a fighter or a rogue, and you go on grand adventures. Players will gather together along with a dungeon master and create their characters, picking which race to play, their class, their character's abilities, skills, and feats, possibly a brief history about their character, and they will choose gear. In determining their abilities, players will roll several six-sided die, and the result will be their stat numbers, strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. The dungeon master then begins to weave the beginnings of a story, and the characters then decide what to do. If, for example, they find themselves standing in front of a White House with a boarded-up front door, the DM may ask what they wish to do next. The players are only limited to what their imagination holds. They may choose to remove the boards and enter through the front door, or they may look for an open window on the back side of the house, or they may just simply decide to burn the house to the ground. They are the storytellers in the game. The DM is there to facilitate the next move and to narrate what the non-player characters and monsters will do in the scope of the game. Much of what takes place in Dungeons & Dragons depends greatly on collaborative actions with each of the players, as the puzzles can be deadly, the monsters can be even deadlier, and cooperation between players is vital. Depending on the type of class that a player chooses will determine the types of attacks and abilities that they will have access to. Damage is determined by rolling various types of dice, from d6s that we previously mentioned to 12-sided die to 4-sided die, 8-sided die, there's even 100-sided die, and even more exotic ones. But the main dice that's going to be used is the d20. Dice are used, in a sense, to create a form of randomness that can occur in the game. D&D sessions can last for hours, but some take much longer, as there is no real definitive winning point. The game of chess ends when the king is captured or there's a stalemate. In Dungeons & Dragons, there are easily multiple winning points, but the game itself can last over a span of hours to weeks to even years. Fantasy tabletop role-playing games are a perfect way to spend quality time with friends and family, and while this video only scratches the surface of what Dungeons & Dragons is, a game of fantasy where sword shocks upon shield, where magic can pierce the air, where treasure and riches can be found around every corner, okay, almost around every corner, D&D allows you to become the hero that saves the day. It allows you to vanquish foes and mighty monsters, but moreover, it is the perfect way to tell tall tales, share great food and drink, and show that your imagination has no limits. I would encourage you to explore my other videos, and always feel free to ask questions in the comments, or join my Discord. I'll leave a link to it in the description, and ask questions there. If you like this video, also please consider giving it a thumbs up. That helps to spread out to more eyes, and again, if you have any questions at all about D&D or tabletop role-playing game, feel free to ask. Until next our paths cross, may your imagination know no bounds.